Hi everyone, this is Quinton with Home Nation. Today is going to be a fantastic video. I'm going to show you a real quote from a contractor so you know how much it costs to install a mobile home in the state of Florida in 2025. Right? So we're going to look at a real quote from a real contractor for a real customer that has purchased a home from Home Nation here in Central Florida. So you'll know what it's going to cost. What we want to do first here is I'm going to share my screen so that you can see exactly what I'm looking at. I've removed the customer information. We'll just keep that private, but I'm going to jump straight into it. This is the actual quote. I've taken out the contractor's information. We can certainly put you in touch with that contractor if you happen to be in the area and you give us a call. I've taken out the customer information, but you can see this is from June of 2025. At the time of this recording, it's July. And I'm going to go straight to the bottom here and show you what the total price is. Then we'll come back and we'll look at every single item. Down here, $29,950. Okay, but what does that mean? What does that $29,000 get me? I just want to give you the price right away because we get calls every day from customers. What's the price to install? What's the price? What's the price? Hey, I'll give you the price. There it is, $29,950. We'll run through it line by line. I'll break it down so it makes sense. This is going to be super informational so that you'll know exactly what to expect for installing a mobile home in the state of Florida in 2025. Now, this home in particular, it's going to be a double wide. This model right here, it's a 24 by 44, 1,000 square feet, delivered to DeLand, Florida. That's where this customer happens to be. DeLand's a fantastic location, just north of Orlando, and then just west of Daytona Beach, right around all the natural springs that are in the Central Florida area. So fantastic place to put a mobile home. Just want to show you that there's nothing unique here, nothing out of the ordinary. It's a little over an acre property that the customer has in DeLand that they want to find and put a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, over 1,000 square foot double wide on. You see here on our website, the price is $77,210. Now that price, as you can see, it says delivered. That price includes delivery to your lot, tires and axles. The home's going to be on tires and axles when it arrives. Now the price might change at the time that you watch this recording. The manufacturers, they update when prices go up or when prices go down. But as of today, you can get that home delivered to your property for $77,210. Now, once that home arrives, it needs to be installed. So let's break down what that means. We're going to look at each item here real quickly, and then we'll run back and look at them individually. But I want to give you the overview. The way that the setup kind of works, you have site work, you have your setup, and then you have connecting utilities. That's sort of a simple way to look at it. So the site work is that site prep sort of thing. And you see that once you get the permits and licensing out of the way, you have your site prep, you have your dirt pad, you have your your site prep, your dirt pad, and your spotting, and your setup. So you do your site prep, get your pad done, you set your home up, and then you connect your utilities, your AC, your electric. Then you do your skirting, your steps, you do your interior trim out. So it just gives you a quick overview of what goes into installing a home. You do your pad, you put the home on the pad, you connect the utilities. Pretty straightforward. Now let's look at what each item means and what you need to look out for as a homeowner to make sure is covered, or just, what you should expect when a contractor says, yeah, I'll pull your permit. Yeah, I'll set up your home. What does that mean? So pulling the permits, this fee is just for submitting that application to the county and walking it through that process. Pulling a permit in the state of Florida can be pretty difficult. I know, I've done a lot of permits personally. It can be a pain. Some counties are nice, other counties, I don't know. They try to make it difficult, it feels like. So what this fee is going through that process so you don't have to worry about it as a homeowner. But what the fee is not is any fees from the county. A county will have their permitting fee. This doesn't cover that. They'll have impact fees. They might have garbage fees. They might have environmental fees. And sometimes they're nominal, $50. Sometimes it's $500. Sometimes you're paying impact fees of like $5,000. It really depends on the county. So just understand this $1,000 that's being charged here, that's not to cover all of those fees. That is just to submit the permit. And you can see it here. Our service, including pulling all permits necessary to set up the mobile home, calling in the final inspection, and putting the installation certificate label, which is a label that the state of Florida requires showing this home has been installed by a licensed and insured installer. You can't have just anybody install the mobile home. Then moving on from that, you have the site plan / prep. This is pretty straightforward. This will include multiple trips to the property in order to get the site prepped and ready for the home. The site plan will be drawn and the home will be staked out. So what this means is the installer is going to look at look at your property and say, all right, you should put the home here, or you should put the home over there because you have trees over here, or you've got, looks like a low-lying spot on the property there, so we don't want to put the home there, or whatever necessary. They'll look at that property and tell you the best place to put the home. You might already know where that needs to go, but sometimes you're like, not really sure, just help me out. So this contractor will do that for you. Then next here, once they find out where to put the home, they're going to build a dirt pad. In the state of Florida, you do not need a concrete foundation in most cases. Some counties will require that, but in most cases, you don't need that. So this is going to be building a dirt pad for the home to be set on. 6 loads of dirt for $3,000 here. That's a pretty great price for the dirt and building the pad. For 6 loads, usually you don't need 6 loads. Usually you need like 2 loads, maybe 3. So for this customer, they might be on a lower lying spot where they want to put the home. So after the contractor looked at the property, he said, hey, yeah, you're going to need more loads of dirt than you might typically have. So there's 6 loads for you. That's going to be a nice firm foundation so that the home is not going to go anywhere in the years to come. Then once that pad is done, the home needs to be placed onto the pad. Here at Home Nation, we will do our best to send drivers that will put the home on the pad. Like we're really going to try to get them to bring the home from the road onto your property and then onto your foundation or your dirt pad. But in some cases, they can't do that. So it's so important to have your contractor there ready to receive the home. The drivers that are coming with that home, they've got big rigs. I mean, that truck might be 30 feet long. They're going to have a hard time getting onto your property and squeezing the home back onto your pad, in the back of the property or over and around the trees or behind the shed, whatever it is. They're going to have difficulty doing that. So your contractor will have a fee to spot the home. And that is them coming in with special equipment to make sure they can take the home and position it on the property that it needs, where it needs to be, and put it right on the pad. Usually that's going to look anywhere from $500 to maybe $1,200. Depends on the equipment that's needed. So $800 really right here in the ballpark. Now that you've got the permits in place, you've got the site prep done, the pad's done, the home's been spotted, this is kind of the meat and potatoes right here. This is the setup. But what that means can be a lot of things. So we're going to break it down line by line. We'll read this here first. The home's going to be set up to code on top of the pad, block, leveled, and tied down. We'll put the vinyl siding on the ends and close it up. This will include all the material. So let's pause right there. This is pretty commonly referred to as the rough set, where they put the home on blocks, concrete blocks, 8x8x16. These are standard masonry blocks. If you've ever seen a block home being built, that's probably what they were using, okay? So they'll put the blocks onto the foundation on the dirt pad. So it goes, you'll have dirt pad, you'll have ABS, right? That's a plastic pad that they put on. So you have your entire dirt pad foundation, then you have maybe a 20x20 ABS pad. And then on top of that, you're going to have your concrete blocks. Have all those blocks, maybe 2 blocks, 3 blocks high, typical set. Then you level the home on those blocks, and then you tie the home down with anchors, steel straps that attach to augers that are anchored into the ground. Not going to go into great detail about that. Just want you to understand block, level, and tie. Once that home is blocked, leveled, and tied, they're going to go ahead and close it up. So that means for a double wide, you have 2 halves and they mate together like this. Okay, really simple. It's often called the mate line or the marriage line. That's where both halves come together. When those come together, you need to finish off the siding on the ends, and you'll need to do the interior trim out, which we'll see that lower down on this quote, and we'll discuss what that means. But for this part, it's the exterior trim out or the vinyl siding on the ends and close it up. All right, that's going to include all the material that the manufacturer sends to get that job done. Moving on from it, the sewer will be tied in underneath the home and stubbed out toward the existing septic or sewer hookup. This is included in our set price. Most of the time, the factory sends roughly enough material. If not, extra material will have to be added and charged for. So what that means is when your home arrives, it's going to have a sewer drop under the bathroom, under the other bathroom, under the sink. These are just pipes that drop immediately underneath that section of the house, which means if you flush your toilet without doing the plumbing, then it's going to go straight to the floor. Straight to the ground. Or if you run the sink without doing the plumbing, that drop is immediately under the sink. It's just going to go straight to the ground. You don't want that, obviously. What this contractor is saying is he's going to tie everything together. It's the words that he used. The sewer will be tied in underneath a home. So he's going to say you have 3 drops. You have 2 bathrooms and a sink. He's going to tie those 3 drops into one line, and he's going to run that one line out to your septic tank or your sewer. Really simple. The manufacturer actually supplies the pipe to do that. But what this contractor is saying is, hey, in the event that there's not enough pipe, I'll charge extra for that. Not a problem. Pipe's pretty cheap. And really, if the manufacturer doesn't supply enough pipe, don't worry. Contact Home Nation, contact our service department. We'll make sure that cost gets covered. We want to make sure that you have the materials you need to get your home set up. So moving on, once the home's set up, they need to hook up utilities. This is kind of the second part of plumbing, and then we'll talk about the AC and electric. This right here, we will connect plumbing to an existing sewer tap and connect existing well to the home water intake within 10 feet of the home. Once that sewer line is tied together under the home and you start running that line to the septic, now once you leave the envelope of the home, who knows how deep of a hole they need to dig to run the pipe to the septic, or how far they need to dig, or how many roots they have to go through, or whatever else gets in the way. So you see, it's not a huge charge here. It's $550. The majority of the plumbing is going to be in this $9,000 charge for setup, but they do charge a little bit because they've got to dig a trench. They've got to cut out roots, whatever they have to do to connect to your well or your city water and to connect to your septic or your sewer. All right, so they have a little charge there. Then we're going to jump down here to the AC install and the electric hookup. We'll come back to the skirting and steps, but I just want to kind of stay in sync with how the home is typically installed. After you've got it on blocks, you've done the plumbing, then you're going to do the other hookups. That's electric and the AC. Pretty straightforward. With the AC, it's a 3-ton package unit installed. That includes the flex duct that's going to go under the home, the AC pad that the actual AC unit outside sits on top of, and then wiring for the thermostat. $4,800 for a 3-ton unit. The home's a little over 1,000 square feet. It's pretty good. It's about what you can expect. The electrical hookup, this is a little more detailed, but it's still a great price here. $4,800 for all electric hookup of home and AC unit, including all wiring and the AC disconnect. That's a new 200 amp meter main and pole setup within 40 feet of the home. All right, some of you heard that and you're like, look, I got no idea what that means. Let me break it down for you. The home has an electrical panel inside of it, but you need to connect electric to that from the power pole out by the street. And there's a transformer out by the street, power pole from probably Florida Power and Light. All right. And somehow you got to get power from that power pole into your home. That's kind of a difficult process because you have to step down the power because you can't connect directly from that transformer to your home. Otherwise, you're going to blow some things. So what that installer is going to do, they're going to do the new 200 amp meter main and pole. So that's going to be outside your home. You're going to have a pole and a 200 amp meter. And what the utility company will do, they'll connect from their pole at the street, their transformer. They'll run a line from that transformer to the pole that you put. And they'll have what's called a whip that's going to be at the top of the pole. Sometimes you've seen those. It's like a half dome shape and it has like 3 wires that come out of it, those 3 black wires. They'll connect to that. And that's the pole that the electric contractor will set. And then there's a panel on that. And that's like your main disconnect. If you've ever gone outside and disconnected all the power, or you needed to trip everything at once, that's that main disconnect from outside. So that's the 200 amp meter main and pole setup, and then they connect that into your home. So underneath your electrical panel inside your home, there's a gray conduit that drops. And that's where the contractor is going to run the wire from the pole and the meter that was done outside. They'll run a wire from there into the home. So you have multiple things going on. You have a wire coming from the transformer to the pole and the meter that's outside, and that connects to that meter box right there. And then you have a wire going from there into the home. It pops up underneath the home and goes in the gray conduit up into your electrical panel. That's what that $4,800 includes. That's a great price for that. And if you notice that this is set up within 40 feet of the home, that's a lot more feet than up here doing the plumbing within 10 feet. The reason for that is when you're doing electric, sometimes the pole can't be as close to the home as you might want, because to get from the transformer to the pole, maybe there are trees in the way, maybe there's a shed in the way, who knows what it is. So you just have to have a little bit more variability on where you're able to put that pole. And so this contractor knows that. He knows if he were to say, I'd only do it within 10 feet of the home, like in most cases, that's not going to work. So he's like, look, here's my price to do it within 40 feet. Because I know a lot of times that's what it's going to take. Okay, so now you've got all the utilities set up. Jumping back up here, like I said, we were going to do to the skirting and the steps. This is installing regular vinyl skirting around the house with material included, $2,250. Now, this contractor might have made a small mistake, or he might just have an error with verbiage here. He says single wide. And now I know what things cost for vinyl skirting. $2,250. That's probably for a double wide. This customer is going to double check with them. And in fact, she may have already done it by this point. But that's really what it should be for a double wide. And everything else here matches up. So I think that was just a little writing error that he forgot to correct. Moving from that, the regular vinyl skirting, you have the steps. It's steps for 2 doors, $800 per step, delivered and installed. These are fiberglass steps more than likely. That's a great price for the steps, delivered, installed. Really straightforward, nothing fancy there. And then moving down here to the bottom, you have the VOG inside trim. That's finish inside VOG trim. We'll finish inside where the mate line goes together. That's $1,600. That's a great price. If you remember what I was talking about earlier, how the homes marry together at that mate line, you got to make that look pretty on the inside and the outside. We looked at the siding that goes on the outside earlier. We talked about that. But on the inside, you have doors that come together. You have an opening in the living room that you want to make sure looks nice and seamless. There's a lot going on and a lot of opportunity for it to not look so good. So you need to make sure that you got someone who's a carpenter that knows what they're doing. And for the most part, that's going to be your installer. They do this day in and day out. The manufacturer sends all the materials with the home. So the contractor doesn't have to go buy anything in most cases. All the materials there, they can go in there with their nail gun and just start getting to work, making everything a seamless marriage line. So it doesn't look like the house was in two halves ever at all. It looks like one complete unit. So there you have it, folks. I just wanted to do a quick video. Try not to go on too long. I could talk about this forever. There are tons of details here, but just running it down: permits, $1,000, site plan, $550, dirt pad, $3,000, spotting the home, $800, setup, $9,000, hooking up the utilities, which is the plumbing, and connecting that freshwater inlet from the well or city water, that's $550. Skirting, $2,250. Steps, $800 per step, so that's $1,600 total. AC install, $4,800. Electric hookup, $4,800. And then that interior finish, the VOG vinyl over gypsum, that's $1,600 for a total of $29,950 to install this mobile home, this 24 by 44 double wide, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, just over 1,000 square feet in Central Florida. Now, if you're tracking and you're doing the math here, $77,000 for the home. Let's call it $30,000 to make it easy. For the install, that's $107,000 to get that home installed on your property. That is fantastic value. If you have city water and city sewer there, that's phenomenal. Now, let's say you paid $30,000 for the lot. You're all in for under $150,000 to live in a home. That's absolutely amazing value. And that's the value you get when you work with Home Nation. When you decide, I want to work with contractors directly, I don't need someone to run my job, and you contact Home Nation, we're going to find you the most affordable home for your location. We have dozens of manufacturers that we represent, and we have hundreds of homes that we provide. And so if you give us a call, we've got a call center always ready to answer your call. We have home specialists ready to take you to that next step to find out what fits for you. And we're going to find you the most affordable home. We have even more affordable homes than the one you saw there. We even have single wides. We have smaller double wides. We have bigger double wides, big single wides, whatever you're looking for. We have hundreds of floor plans that you can pick from. And so we are able to provide absolute unbeatable value by helping you get in contact with that local contractor, because your local dealer who says they'll do everything, they're going to use that same contractor and they're just going to charge a markup. But at Home Nation, we avoid that altogether. We say, look, we're going to get you the home. We're going to provide it at a fantastic rate because we do a high volume of homes. So I don't need to make all that money. I'm a for-profit business. Don't get me wrong, but we don't need to make as much as everyone else because we're doing a lot of homes. And then we put you in touch with that contractor. That contractor takes care of the job. You pay them directly. So give us a call, 1-800-HOME-NATION, or head to our website, homenation.com. Go ahead and put in your zip code once you're there at the website to see the price of all of our homes with delivery to that zip code, so you know what it's going to cost to get that home to your property right there at your fingertips on our website, homenation.com. Thank you so much, guys. We'll do another one of these soon. I appreciate it. See ya.